This time around 2 years ago, my boss had a job, and the number for that job is 9135. We're on about 12,400 now or so, if that gives you any context to how long ago this was. And it's a faulty Nintendo Switch that he actually deemed unrepairable by himself. And that is because of the trace damage repair that we have on the charging port. He contacted the customer and said, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do the repair. Feel free to come and pick the Switch up at your earliest convenience. And the customer just never responded. So it's been at the shop now for 2 years. I was sorting through some bits and I said to myself, I'm going to give this a go. If that's the only thing wrong with it, I'm fairly confident that we can get it up and running. But let's take it over to the scope now and just inspect to see if we have any shorted components. Here's the Switch in all of its glory. And as you can see, these are the ripped traces. I'll zoom in a bit more in a second. But it looks like we're going to have to do these three up the top, these two down here, this one and this one. This one looks like it's hanging on for... Oh, ignore that. It's just flown off somewhere. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 traces to do in total. Tell you what, I'm just going to zoom in real quick now. You might be able to see that the tiniest bit of trace is still there. As for the top ones, it's pretty much non-existent on these three, isn't it? You have this bit, and this bit, but that is minuscule. To try and tag a wire on there and have it go down, it's going to be really, really tough. I have faith. I believe we can do it. And if not, it's good practice anyway. Let's see what the status of this switch is. So we'll first off check the little fuse that we have here. Okay, it's all good. We have the memory attached as well. That was the most important thing, because if it wasn't, we probably wouldn't be able to do anything with this board other than use it for parts. So we're going to check around BQ. See if we've got any shorts around here. Doesn't look like it. BQ seems to be absolutely fine. Just check the coil very quick. Coil was good. And move up to M92T36. Do we have any shorts around here? Yes, we do. So we have a short on this cap here, which means that we have a faulty M92T36. The capacitor that we have underneath M92 seems to be okay. That's all good. And that cap is also shorted. So we have 2 shorted caps, and that's going to be because of this here. So we go ahead and crack on with the actual trace repair. Whilst I'm here, I might as well check Pi 3, which I think is going to be okay. Yeah, it's fine. Sweet. Right, let me do the trace repair for this and see how we go. First off, I'm cleaning up the area, just making sure there's no flux. I also actually need to get rid of the solder in the ground holes, don't I? So just giving it some heat, liquefy the flux, and any traces that come off now weren't fit for purpose, which is another reason why I'm doing this. Did we just lose one? I think we did. Okay. I think we did lose a trace. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I thought I said 8, so maybe I've just lost 2 traces somehow. Clean out these ground holes quickly. Now all nice and clean. Get rid of these fibers that we have hanging about. Now we're going to take our favourite tool, which is the grinding pen. I'm just going to try and make some traces visible. Try being the key word here, without ripping them, which is going to be very, very tough. Okay, how are we looking? Not too bad at all, if I'm being honest. One that, by the looks of it, I've completely missed somehow, which is here. That should be good now. Any more that I could do a little bit more on? Just there. All right, that looks okay. Let's go ahead now and apply some flux in this area. I'm just going to tin everything that I have here that you can see. These traces that I'm attaching the wires to are barely visible. Barely. Looking at it under a microscope, you might think, you can see them, no problem at all. Any flux. Okay, I'd say that we've pretty much tinned that nicely. I'll need to retin the pads anyway after we put the wires on. And the wire that I'm going to be using for our operation is this really, really thin wire here. Should be perfect. It's going to be a rinse and repeat process. Apply flux, solder the wire on, clean up, and go again. Because without the area being clean, it's going to be extremely tough. So I'll try and get this first one with a commentary. So we can just put this down here. And then I'll most probably just speed the rest of it up. Tell you what, we can secure the wire some more, just a little bit north, like this. It's enameled coated wire as well, so we need to kind of tin it. There we go. We have flux. I just need to add some more solder to this. Hold this with a tweezer now. You can see that it's not connected, so I'm going to come in with a little bit of solder, extra solder, just on the end of my tip here, and lock that in place. Still a little bit wobbly. There we go. Still maybe even a little bit wobbly. Because of how small the pad is, I think it's going to be wobbly regardless. Not the pad, sorry, I'm talking about the actual trace, but I think that's as good as we're going to get. And then we just cut about here. There we go. Rinse and repeat. Just check continuity, and I believe this trace here is touching this one. And I don't know if that is a continuous path down to this trace. I don't know if they're meant to be linked. I'm going to go ahead and assume yes, but I don't want to risk it. So apply a tiny bit of flux and just go over this one again to make sure they are definitely meant to have a continuous path. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and say that they're meant to. Clearly you can see that they're now not connected with each other or bridging. So if they do have a continuous path. No, see, they weren't meant to be touching. Okay, good. Fine. We made the right decision there. Just double checking our work. And now a little bit more hot air just to melt the flux we've just put on the board. Along with isopropyl alcohol and a brush just as a final clean. Stroking downwards so I don't mess any of the traces up. And making sure that none of these traces fall off when I stroke downwards. We seem to be all okay. If I can just push these in line with the board, because I'm going to be applying some solder mask. That should be okay. Those two on the end might have, like, the blobs might be just a bit too big. And once you put that port on, I mean, you can revisit after, but chances of traces coming off when you go to pull that port off are highly, highly likely. So I'm just going to make sure that we don't have any big solder blobs in the way. That's better. That's better. Okay. All right. I think we're looking okay. One final clean. In terms of the actual trace repair job, that's our final finished product. And it doesn't look that great at the moment, and it never will, I don't think. But now we're just going to apply some solder mask. Thin, very, very thin layers of solder mask, so that we don't obstruct the port in any way, shape or form. Up here doesn't really matter too much, so I'm going to put a blob just here, and then go over just like this. And then drag this over to the other one. That's going to be a nice thin pull. Same applies down here, but tiny drops. Tiny, tiny, tiny drops. Just to try and give us some security. Holding down those traces. And all of our wires look tinned, which is good. Now to cure it. There we are. Now that has hardened with the soldered mask. What I'm going to do is apply a tad more flux. Just make sure everything is nice and tinned. I'm going to tin the port as well, so we hopefully have good connections between the wires and the port. If I can quickly just individually make sure there is enough solder where there needs to be. No. Well, there goes one. Hopefully not. That's okay. Yeah, that's better. No, two. Okay, well, I need to do both of those traces again then. Oh, unless we could put this one back. No. That's the danger about retinning. There we go. That's one. Okay, gonna have to go with some hot air and cleaning again. I make a good coffee. Yeah. I do? I think your coffees are amazing. Sharp tin in the port now. There we go. Nice. Port has been tinned. Apply some flux here. Just down here. Here. Just about there as well. We go ahead and prep our pads. Make sure all ready to go, which they now are. Perfect. Here we go, about to drop this on. And then remember, we're going to have to sort out M92 T36 as well. Turning the speed of our hot air right down on our air station. There we go. Port has been soldered. Get rid of any excess flux that we might have. And sort out the back real quick. You can see just about here that we still have some flux on the back. Just clean that all out. But the solder has gone through perfectly. So this is looking really good. The real question is, does it actually work? That's the main thing. Port is definitely secure. And we're looking good from this angle as well. Dab some IPA in here with a cotton swab. Just get rid of that flux. Let's change out M92 T36 as well. This should at least be a little bit simpler. Gonna just apply some flux, just a tiny bit to get the chip off. I will sort this chip in a second. Just getting it in place. Now I'm going to apply some flux. There we go. It just popped into place. Nice. Give it a push down. Okay. A little bit of flux on the outside. Come in with a soldering iron. Just clean up those edges. Once the board is nice and hot. Ooh. Very stubborn bit of solder there. More flux. There we go. Nice proper alcohol and a brush, followed by a cotton swab just to make sure we're all clean. And there we go. M92 T36 has been changed. That side is fine. That side is fine. This side is... Oh, sorry, that stray bit of solder just here. There we go. Is that fine now? Yes. All good. And this side. Nice. So we are now ready to test and see if this works. I've just confirmed as well that the short has gone from M92 T36, T36 apparently. So I'm going to plug it in. Do we get anything? Yes, we do. Let's go. Okay, so that's one side. We get 15 volts. We don't get any amp draw, but that might be okay. Do I get that initial amp draw? I do get it. Bumps up to about 75, 30, then zeros. That's not too bad. That could be signs of life. Do I get anything on the other side? No. Oh, I spoke too soon. Okay. Let's just double check by plugging it in. No. Okay, so I get nothing on that side. All right, okay. Well, one side is better than none. Even if we can use this board as like maybe a donor board to double check readings and stuff, that would be amazing. Just checking to see whether it was this side or the other side that's having the issues. Because if it's this side, I can just tack those little bits down. Ensure that they have a solid connection. It might be that this side is the good side. Not too sure. Well, that one's definitely not soldered down to anything. I don't know if there's a jumper under there or not. I'm not too sure. So we'll go over the pins just on the back. There is a chance I can get both sides working. That'll be wicked. So just going to apply some flux. A little bit of solder just on the end of the iron. And we're going to try and touch up each one of these. so that we ultimately have a little bit of a better connection. There we go. IPA and a clean. Does that at least look a bit better? I think it does. Those bits of solder look thicker. That's good. Okay, this is good. 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 There was one at the end that was quite wiggly. This one, I believe, and it's now solid. So let me try that again. Now, out of interest, do we have the same side working? Because that would be a good indication. Yes, we do. So the same side is working. There you can see that it's about 80 milliamps and drops to 0. That's completely normal. And now does the other side work after a little touch up? No. Okay, so it must be the row of pins underneath the port that we're having issues with. So let's put it in the chassis and see if we actually get signs of life for this Nintendo Switch. I've just plugged in the Bare Necessities Jungle Book style battery, LCD ribbon connector, and backlight to see if we get anything on the screen. And moment of truth. Okay, so do we get any charging? We get 100 milliamps. The battery might be completely dead. And, oh, we do get something on top of the screen. I was holding it at a weird angle. So yeah, the battery is going to be completely dead, but we have charging on this Nintendo Switch. So I'll continue putting it back together and leave it a good while to charge. But that looks like it's been fixed. Yes, it's only one side of the board. I might give the customer a call and just explain that, look, I've managed to fix it, but it will only charge one way. And I don't know if it will work in a docking station, which is something that ultimately I can test downstairs. And just see if they maybe want it for a discounted price on the repair. Ultimately, Sean can make the call on that. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.